Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amber. I am a mum to my beautiful 8-month-old Albie. Today I am going to be talking about a bit of, I'm going to just turn Peppa Pig down, hoping you can't hear that in the background. I'm going to be talking about a bit of a controversial, how do you say controversial subject, which is breastfeeding. So before I was pregnant and whilst I was pregnant, I was very much one of those people who was very anti-formula. I didn't have anything against the people who formula fed whatsoever. I was very set in my ways and how I wanted to go about things. Looking back on it now that I have done it, I was very, very, very uneducated and not as prepared as I could have been. Also very, very misinformed. There were so many things I went through during breastfeeding that I was not informed about and that I didn't even realise was a thing. I think what inspired me to do this video was a few of my friends are currently pregnant with their firsts, and we were talking about breastfeeding and I was sort of offering them tips, if you like, and recommending products that can help the process. However, many times I was told when I was pregnant how easy breastfeeding should be. It really, really wasn't. So obviously this video is about why I don't breastfeed. I spent many, many months beating myself up about this. I finally arrived at this place where I am at peace with it. It is what it is. I have a very, very healthy, happy little boy and everything is fine. It is not the end of the world. When Albie was born, I started breastfeeding straight away. I don't remember the first time he latched. I know that he latched relatively soon after he was born, but I don't remember feeling anything. I don't really remember the experience. I think I was still so disorientated and in shock and in pain that I completely don't remember what happened. However, when I was in recovery, obviously I was sort of getting him to breastfeed as often as I could, and it was so painful. I wouldn't say excruciating because I had just been through excruciating pain and this was just really, really painful and really uncomfortable. And I kind of let it go for the first couple of days because it was just the first couple of days. I thought, you know, maybe he just needs to get the right latch. Like they had said to me before, they said if they aren't latched correctly, then it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable. So I thought, okay, he just hasn't got the correct latch. Once we get home, we'll get this all resolved and it'll be fine. So I think it was a couple of days after we were home, my midwife came over to check me and obviously check Albie, see how we were doing, also how the breastfeeding was going. And I had a bit of a meltdown to her and I was explaining to her how much pain I was in. Both of my boobs were completely blistered. It makes me cringe thinking about it. And red raw, and they were so painful, like to the point where I couldn't even have a shower because when the water was like hitting my boobs, it was just so unpleasant. And I think with everything else hurting down there and my boobs being engorged with milk anyway, it was just so uncomfortable. She was so sweet and she sat with me and she sort of told me how to position him and how to get him to latch, and she told me that he was latched perfectly and there was nothing that she could have done with his latch that would have made it any better. It was how it should be. And I sort of said to her, okay, so why is this so uncomfortable? Why is this so painful? I'm not enjoying this. The reason my boobs were so blistered was because Albie was getting so frustrated every time he was feeding. He was not relaxed at all. He'd occasionally be relaxed for a few minutes, but he'd always like pull off and get back on again, and pull off and get back on again, and then he'd scream and get frustrated. And I said, if he's latched correctly, why he can't be, because he doesn't seem happy. So after this happened, I said to Elliot, at this point, this was only like 2 days in, I had already had enough. I was so tired. I had not slept since I'd been in labour. Everything hurt. Albie was upset, he was frustrated, he was probably hungry, and so I just said to Elliot, please go and get some formula. At this point I was so upset with myself because I couldn't do this whole breastfeeding thing, and I also hadn't really researched into formula because I never even considered it. And so I was then worrying about, which formula is best for him. Another 2 or 3 days after that, I think I had another midwife visit or health visitor visit, and I can't remember, I think that she was checking him over. I think she was like checking his the umbilical cord that was attached still, just checking his like leg movements, and she happened to check his mouth. And as she did that, she realised he had a very, very severe tongue tie. And I never knew this. It was not something I was aware of. Thank you for that. But she said, like, that's the reason you're struggling so much with breastfeeding. And I was like, great. She said, okay, we can cut the tongue tie now. Are you happy to do that? And I was like, obviously I was heartbroken that they had to do that because he screamed the house down. But I was also so pleased because it meant that we could finally, get to grips with this whole breastfeeding thing. So once she had cut his tongue tie, she did try latching him straight away, and he obviously was not interested. And I thought, okay, you've just had your tongue snipped. I wouldn't be very happy if that was me. So I kind of just brushed it off, and I thought, a bit later on when he's a bit calmer, a bit happier, maybe he will enjoy breastfeeding. When I then tried relatching him, it was still very painful for the first couple of days, where my, sorry TMI, nipples were still very blistered. I was applying cream, but they were still really, really sore, and so I was struggling to feed for longer than like 10 minutes at a time. So I'm topping him up with formula in between just to make sure he's fed and he's happy. Although I had begun giving him formula, I was obviously still primarily breastfeeding and trying to trying to make it less painful and trying to calm him down, whatever. I was trying so hard to make it work. So gradually over the course of that week, 2 weeks, he became more and more fussy. During the nights, I was obviously so exhausted and so tired, and he was obviously hungry. And so I did give him formula during the night because I got so exhausted with sitting there for hours in the night trying to get him to breastfeed when he just didn't want to. He was fighting me, he was pulling off, and I didn't want to force him to do something he didn't want to do. I think looking back on it, he definitely had a bad association with breastfeeding. Even, when was it? It was probably like 3 months ago now. I tried reintroducing breastfeeding because I did some research, and it is actually something that you can do at any stage in your life. If you've ever had a baby, you will always be able to breastfeed, whether you haven't breastfed for like 10 years, which just blows my mind. As long as the boobs become like re-stimulated, they can produce milk again. And so I tried reintroducing breastfeeding and using all the little tips and tricks and methods and perseverance that they suggest you try, and he just hated it, and it broke my heart. But at the end of the day, I was happy that he was fed. I was happy that he was happy. So that's basically what happened over time. I did end up just giving him formula because every time we tried the whole breastfeeding thing, he was just so distraught. He just had a very negative association with it, and I think that was down to the first few days after having him. The energy I was giving off when trying to breastfeed couldn't have been good. I was tired, I was moody and trying to be relaxed, but I obviously wasn't. And he can so pick up on that, and where I wasn't relaxed, where I wasn't enjoying myself, and also where he had a tongue tie, just made the whole experience a little bit traumatizing for him, I think. And so he just didn't want to do it. And I think once he had discovered the bottle, which was so much easier for him at the time to drink from, he just wasn't interested in breastfeeding at all, and that's okay. Like I said at the beginning of the video, before I had him, I was quite snobby about the whole subject. Whenever people would say, oh, I can't breastfeed, blah 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 blah, my mentality was simply, you're not trying hard enough. And I hate my past self for thinking like that. Like I tried not to be judgmental in that sense, but I was. I am sorry to those people that I so easily disagreed with and judged pre-baby. I take it all back. So unless you've had a baby, unless you've been through labour, you have absolutely zero opinion on the subject. And if you have had a baby and you do judge people that formula feed, then you are a mean person. Even though my time with breastfeeding was short, I miss it so much every single day. It was so rewarding, and being able to bond with my baby in that way was one of the most incredible experiences. So I guess I'd just like to say, to finish the video, if you breastfeed, you're a wonderful mama. And if you formula feed, you are a wonderful mama. It does not make any difference to how good of a parent you are whatsoever. I think there are much worse things you could do than feed your child. Giving birth is hard, breastfeeding is hard, trying to recover is hard, and trying to raise your first newborn baby is hard. And do you know what? Hats off to those mamas who have been able to breastfeed. I absolutely salute you, because it is one of the hardest things. And nobody tells you that. Nobody told me what to expect when it came to breastfeeding, what might go wrong, what you can use to help. And if I had, maybe this whole experience would have been a hell of a lot different, but it wasn't. And this is where we are, this is how it was supposed to be for us. And I don't know, maybe in the future, if there's another baby in the future, maybe we can give it a good old go the second time round. Hi! It's bouncing away. Thank you for watching this video. If anybody has any questions regarding breastfeeding or formula feeding, if there's anything I can do to help, there are a few suggestions I have to help. Please leave a comment down below, and yeah, I will see you all in the next video. Should we come say hi? Who's that? Albie. Albie. Excuse me. Look, who's this? Who's this? Ow! Ow, ow, ow. Do you know what? Actually, that's one thing I don't miss about breastfeeding. Nails. If you're breastfeeding or planning on breastfeeding, you need to keep on top of the nails, because holy heck, the scratches you get on your boobs, that's not great. It hurts. Just so you know.